Hi, everybody. All right, we've got quite a few people here. Now, I've got my friend here. She's called Grace. This is a carving that I made, I don't know, 3 years ago probably. I had about 2 weeks. She's sort of rest on her head. I had about 2 weeks right before a very major commission was going to be coming in and started. And Bob Van Dyke, who was also a guest last week doing this shaded fan inlay, he had this very large piece of mahogany that was very rough from the outside. It was very rough edge. And he gave it to me. And it was probably, I don't even know the size, probably, 8 by 8. And she's probably about maybe 17, 18 inches tall. Here, I'll lift her up so you can actually see the whole thing. But anyway, there. So I took, here, I'll flip her around so you can actually see the back side of her. Oh, a lot of hair. She weighs probably 20 pounds. I don't know. And anyway, I spent about 2.5 weeks doing nothing but carving her, and it was pretty intense. And I haven't really carved faces very much. I'm sort of working through the whole carving of Lady Jane, but anyway, it was a square block, and I just they call that direct carving, where you just have a block, whether it's stone or wood or whatever, and you just carve it into it. You don't have a lot of plans. I mean, I kind of knew where the nose was going, and there was a question for a while whether I was actually going to have this hand there or not. That was still sort of a questionable. Anyway, I was very, very happy with her. She just didn't, I didn't know what I was doing because I don't get an opportunity to carve my own designs very much. And so I had this opportunity, didn't have a lot going on at the time. And I thought, I'm just going to dive in. And it was really, really fun and an incredible challenge also. And so, I mean, I look at her now and oh yeah, I could probably fix some things on her, but her eyes are closed, which makes it really, really easy. You don't have to worry about all the eye lids, the shapes of the eyes. You just have this nice little sort of line right there with the closed eyes. So anyway, I mentioned this, I think last week that I had carved her, and I just really enjoyed doing it. And again, I didn't have something to go by. I just carved it and worked on it and played with it. All right, let me just see here where people are coming in from. We've got upstate New York, Anne from Nova Scotia, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Hello, William, Kansas City. All right, Greyhound. Good afternoon. Hi, all Michigan. Hi, all Michigan talk. Yeah. You know what? I've lived in South Carolina 22 years now. Every once in a while, I sort of do the y'all thing. But I really am Minnesota, Wisconsin. So the y'all thing doesn't quite fit with the Minnesota accent. Y'all. It just doesn't quite blend. Hello from Durham. Hello, good afternoon from Albany, New York. Question, was the angle tool you used yesterday beveled on both sides? Yes, it was. I will show you that right now. If you can see that. It's actually beveled on that side and also that side. This is an antique. Most of these, I'm assuming you're talking about this one, the skew. Most of them don't. Most of them have it on one side, so you may have to grind it. Not really necessary. If it's beveled on one side, you can kind of use it in two different ways. So I don't know if it's really necessary. That was just the way that one came. Hang on a second. Let me grab you another one. Here's another antique one that has single. All right, so you can see that flat on that side, bevel on that side. So they come both ways. All right, here, just rest on her. Fuddy, checking from Eastern Washington. Very glitchy audio and video for me today. Oh dear, how's everybody else doing? Oh, yeah, hang on a second. Let me just see something. Hold on. I'm gonna turn off some things. How about maybe we're having some other issues. So bear with me while I figure this out. Okay, let's turn that one off. Yeah, we we had a test run there. Hold on. All right, hold on. Let's let me see if I need to do this. Accidentally got my next guest there coming in. All right, so sorry, I know that blacked out. Are you still there? Just wanted to make... Okay, now hopefully I've just turned off a lot of things. Let me get my Wi-Fi off here. Hold on. Yeah, this is what sometimes we need to do. And I have no idea what's happening inside the house. There might be internet being sucked away all over the place. Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. We will try to make sure that we don't get the glitchy things. All right, Mike checking in from Orville, Oxford, UK, Hilton Head, Portland, Indiana, Michigan. Did someone forget to wake up the wombat? We got the Aussie. Where is he? Oh, there he is. He's way down there. Tampa. Close my browser, restart it. Video, audio, much better now. No problems. Okay, well, anyway, I think I needed to probably do that too because I actually saw it on my screen too a little bit. So anyway, we're Boston, Massachusetts, greeting from Texas. Okay, Wombat Dundee. 2 o'clock in the morning, you are here. Camden, Maine. Taito Alba, you're still there. Hey, still online. Okay, good. Better now, much better. Good now. Okay, way more better. Okay, wonderful. Well, as I said, her name is Grace, and I carved her at a time in my life when I really felt like I needed grace in my life. So I carved her. I think just that sort of expression of just calmness and peace, it was really what I needed at that time. So that's what I created. And you end up, to be able to create something and build something out of your own mind and creativity, it's quite an adventure, and it's a little intimidating too because you have no idea where you're going with it. And she started with just a block of wood. This is mahogany, and I believe it's probably Honduran mahogany. I don't know. Bob Van Dyke gave this piece to me a couple years ago, and it actually sat in my workshop for about 6 months staring at me every time I passed it. This very rough edge piece of wood, and she just kept on talking to me. And the thing is, if you push it and if you start into a project like that you're trying to sort of develop, you can't force it. You just have to wait for the right time to do it. Take that time to really focus on it and not rush it. If you just force it, it's just it's not gonna work. And so, yeah, so especially when it comes to doing your own creative designs. And so we can kind of do a little rotation there. Ooh. She's a little dusty too. So what I did, I actually sanded her face really so you have that satiny finish. And then I didn't sand or didn't do anything with the hair except for a lot of V-chisel cuts. And so which ended up really making the hair stand out differently from her face. And this is just shellac over the top. No stain, no nothing, just 2 coats of shellac with a little bit of steel wool in between the coats, and that's all I did. Okay, so what wood is Grace carved from? Yeah, the Honduran mahogany, I believe, is definitely mahogany, but it's probably old growth mahogany. It's possible that this came from a big post and beam building because it was just a square. Whoops, hold on a second. We've got some buffering issues. Maybe it's just me here. Let me know if things are working okay out there. Okay, is there any finish on? Yeah, I just put 2 coats of shellac. Buddy, is the grain aligned vertically? Yes. Basically, the beam was going this way, the tree. So yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful, beautiful grain. Here, yeah, sorry about that. I think we're getting some sort of midday internet issues happening. I don't know what's going on with that. Let me see something here. Hold on. I want to try to get rid of some things here. A little bit more. Bear with me. Okay, hopefully that will probably help things a bit. I don't know. Yeah, tile screen is looking a little rough here. Okay, I'm just going to let it sort of go because I did try, I pretty much eliminated everything I can possibly think about of making it work. But I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that, and we'll take that away. Okay, all right, well, and I don't know if that has anything to do. It seems like this is really kind of, hold on a second. No, don't want to do that. Okay. All right, so how are we doing here? Buffering comes and goes. So the whole top of the head, the hair, were all end grain cuts. Yes, exactly. Yes, so all of this was coming right into the end grain. So yeah, the face was the trickiest. And here, I'll set her down. Actually, while I'm talking about this, I'll mention, the eyes, I'm having some struggles with her eyes as I'm working through this, just because they're very difficult to do. There was one time when I was really frustrated, and I was having just one of those creative artist blocks, and I had to leave. I just had to go away. So I ended up going to the bank and just doing some stuff, that I away from the workshop. So I was waiting in line at the bank, and I was still in that sort of dilemma of what is the shapes of those eyes, the very sort of subtle things happening. And I was waiting in line, and I looked at the bank teller, and she was probably maybe mid to late 20s. And I was looking at her eyes. I'm like, oh, that's it. That's what I'm missing. I'm sitting here having this eureka moment in the lineup of the bank, and I've almost wanted to get my phone out and take pictures. Just like, let's just capture that moment. I'm sure I probably would have gotten arrested or something. But yeah, you have those little eureka moments. And I wanted to ask her. She probably thought I was really weird, so I was staring at her like, can I just get a close up of that eye there? It's like, don't mind me. I'm being one of those strange artists. Okay, so the whole top of the head. Yes, we're all end grain cuts. That must have been fun. Yes. Let's see. If you carved a standing tree, does the grain go up the tree or down? What? Yeah, that way. I'm not sure. If you carved a standing tree, well, you might want to elaborate on that question. Okay, I'm setting you down, Grace. Oh, where are you? Let's put you over here. And we'll go back to Lady Jane. So I wanted to share that because, what I've been doing this whole time was pretty much, I've got this copy. I've got something to copy directly from. And so I wanted to share that with you to show that there's, sometimes you just have to sort of pull it out of the wood and just design it. They call that direct carving, where you carve directly into the wood and kind of just discover it as you go without a lot of plan. I mean, I knew it was going to be a woman with a lot of hair, but other than that, that was about it. All right, so I'm just gonna see if I can get out of there because I really don't want to. Now I want to. This is like true confession time here. I've got to show you something that I discovered. All right, let's see if you can see that from here. All right, so we've got the head looking good. Okay, I've got enough wood there. And then I've got this one, okay, this shoulder, because if you look at her, she's actually tipped. All right, so this shoulder is actually lower than that one. But look at that. All right, so I discovered that, and I'm not quite sure if I just, measured the height of here based on just this shoulder and didn't consider the fact that she's kind of tipped. So I've got a little bit of an issue with lack of wood. It's like true confession time here. Now, there's a couple things that I could do to fix this, all right? There's just simply not enough wood to form the shoulder that really kind of comes like that. So this one's okay. I measured that and the height is okay once I do all the shaping. But, okay, so what I could do is just take, I really need to clean up that corner because there's a little bit of glue that kind of oozed out there. So I'd really want to make sure that that's a nice, clean, square corner there. And then I can just take and add on a block of wood. And which is probably what I'll end up doing. The difficulty is, let me just turn it like that. The difficulty is, when I did the grinding, hold on, I want you to be able to see that. What's going on? Okay, so the difficulty is when I did the grinding of this, I really ground this too much of a curve, and even right there, too much of a curve. So it's really going to limit the piece of wood that I'm going to be adding. But I'm going to make it work. Okay, it's probably this shoulder is probably going to be a little bit lower than the original. But at least it's not like way back there. And I could end up kind of shifting her whole body to accommodate for that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try to get it pretty accurate because I like that subtle curve shift of the torso. But I'm probably going to have to play with it a little bit and maybe lower it a little bit. But yes, major miscalculation. This was the width of the original block. This is the top one that I glued on, and then the bottom one. I'm not quite sure what happened, but anyway, I was hasty, I guess. I took whatever wood I had there, and then didn't really consider it as I was grinding it too. So obviously, so you can either glue a piece on, which I probably will do, or there's another option, and that is if you have seen torsos or busts, let me just put that like that. Okay, sometimes you see how she kind of comes like that, and much of her shoulder and the top of her arms are visible. There are actually these those torsos, the busts, where it ends up being really from there down and from there down, where the arms aren't even visible. So I could, if I wanted to, actually take it and shorten that, maybe even go from there to there, right, like that, and then like that. It's the face and the head that really is the main feature. But if I did that, I'd lose the rows. Or I'd have to, adjust it so maybe it was like right under the rose and the rose was still there, and it just, I like the rose. Okay, so I like the fact that the rose is a very prominent part of this, and if I end up taking the shoulder like that and taking the shoulder like that, it's going to not look right. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to have to do a little bit, as I said, a little bit of the cleanup of that corner there. Just take a flat chisel there and clean up some of the glue that spread out through there. So yes, well, little adjustments. Okay, so there's some conversations happening here. What are we doing? All right, carving with the grain. Okay, so glue. Your confession is comforting. Gord93 is asking for an explanation of grain direction, carving with versus against the grain. The fibers of a tree's grain go up and down the tree trunk if you think of grain as a cat's fur. Oh, very good, Caleb. He ends up doing my my editing of all my videos, so he knows the explanation through and through, probably better than I do. All right. Yeah. Jim, so the head of the cat, so is the head of the cat at the top of the tree or the bottom? Oh, no, I'm staying out of this conversation. It's getting way too complicated. Yeah. Taito Elbow, you can deal with that one. 3D Sam, glue a fox stole on her shoulder. Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. You know, you can sort of do, or what I could do is actually take the flower and put it on that side and cover up the whole shoulder. Nah. Anyway, we'll make it work. Now, and 3D Sam, now I'm going to put you on the spot here. We're discussing about she's using a computer program, and you know you're going to have to explain it because I don't understand it at all. To do this like a clay modeling, but computerized clay modeling of Lady Jane. So I've been seeing sort of the progress of the photos and the images that she's creating. So we're going to try to get an image of this soon, and possibly even one of those three-dimensional spinning images that she's created on the computer. So we're going to try to get her, I'll put you really on the spot, try to get you on Skype at least sort of to screen share and show a little bit of what you're doing and how that works, because it really is fascinating. I know nothing about that, but you can do these three-dimensional images on the computer screen, and fascinating stuff. So we're working on that over the next few days to see if we can show you the same image that I'm carving, but have it in that three-dimensional spinning option. So, all right, let's get going with some carving. So let's just see where we are. I need to clamp her in there. She's good. And I'm going to just sort of avoid this side so I don't accidentally remove more than what I really need to. Yeah, 3D, Sam, great for the concepts of being able to visualize something in 3 dimensions. So if you're trying to come up with a design, if you can make it in that visual 3 dimension first, just to get an idea of how it works and what the shape is. It's amazing what you can do now with computers and technology. A lot of people do that with furniture design also. They've got a lot of really amazing 3D programs. What is the one? I think SketchUp is one, where you can do a very, take something, design it, and then you can look at it from all directions, and it's really very interesting. And you can do it with anything. All right, so what are we doing here? We've got, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is the top of the tree the head of the cat? Yeah, like I said, you guys figure that all out. You're just getting things way too complicated. You know what? Start carving in it and see if the cat sort of bites you. The grain of the wood in a tree is a series of concentric cones nestled inside of each other. So if you carve from the top down, your chisel could dive under the grain. When she gets done with 3D image, will she print out on a 3D printer? That's cheating. It's possible you can. Yes, you can. And then you have something. See, that's where you would create the original then you can copy from that. So you've got an original where right now I'm basically taking and measuring and all of that. And so you could do it use the same technique, actually having something to physically measure from. So I don't know. I mean, that would be the same thing. Is this cheating by having the marble bust here and me copying from it? I mean, I guess some people would probably consider that cheating, but it certainly makes my life a little easier. I know. I'm wondering, Tito Alba, whether people are really being serious about the comparing the cat with a tree and what direction. This is why I'm sort of not. I'm taking this with a grain of salt because I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I think there's probably a little bit of a little bit of sarcasm happening there. You might have to cut the right angle notch deeper into the existing wood on both planes to get a clean enough area for the new wood block for the other shoulder. I'm not sure if that's really necessary. I think what I'm going to try to do is get a really clean corner. And we'll just see. I'm going to see if it rocks or sort of tips a bit and it doesn't join really nicely. Then I may have to, but I don't think so. I'll let you know probably before next ones. Just wondering if a piece of wood like Lady Jane is standing upright like the tree, or is it upside down, etc. There's no way of knowing that. You're talking about the grain going. I mean, basically, the grain is going, it's growing vertical, whether it's the top or the bottom. That there really isn't anything, any way of knowing that. I mean, you know, unless you can actually, yeah, I'm not quite sure where to go with that. I have no idea the answer to that one. There's no, yeah, like Taito Alba, it would nearly impossible to tell. Yeah. So, are you saying is she standing on her head or is she standing on her feet? Not sure. Okay, so just smoothing out this surface there. Got a little bit of a cleavage there. Okay, so I'm going to go around the outside edge of the leaves right here. Okay. It's only cheating if you give the impression that you created this design and it is original with you. Yes, I would say that's probably true. But I'll tell you what, when you're just discovering something and when you're carving like a face or a head, a bust like this for the first time, it really is helpful to have something in front of you so that you can you know, just have something to refer to, because it can get very, very complicated. And when you start a cut, the chisel will tell you whether you are with the grain or against it. I mean, ultimately, you know, as Taito Alba mentioned, that lesson on carving the donut is really, really good about talking about grain direction. But the interesting thing that I've found, and I've taught a lot of classes, ultimately, that's exactly what you need to do. Just get the tool in the wood and you can find out what's going to happen very quickly, because you can, you know, it will tell you, it will talk to you. But basically with this one, the grain is going right along there. All right, so if it ended up actually going in this direction, I mean, you could still do it, but I'll tell you what, that would be a huge tree that it would have to come out of too. So usually when you're having something like this, with long like that, you have the grain going in this direction, end grain at the top of the head, and then end grain down here. And then you pretty much can be confident that from when you're going downhill this way, you're always going in that direction. When you find the top point and you're carving in that direction there, and that direction there. Right? If I went and tried to do this and go backwards like that, it would catch and snag. So I want to find the top point. Okay, so we've got the leaves there. Everything down here goes in that direction. From here goes in that direction. Okay, that's pretty standard when the grain is going across this way. Okay, let's see. Carve the donut and you'll know more about cats and trees. Yes. There you go. I wasn't quite sure where the where all that was going, so I'll just let that go. I have no experience carving with basswood, but it is more forgiving against the grain. It certainly can be, yes, but I still wouldn't suggest trying to carve against the grain no matter what. So you're talking about like at the top of the head where it's going right along the end grain. There you don't have a lot of option, or like the top of the head of Grace. There you don't have a lot of option, and surprisingly when you're carving right along that end grain area, like the top of the head, it actually, there's no grain at all at that point because you're carving right along that end grain, so you don't really have a lot of that issue of which direction to go. It's just going to be really, really hard. So you're carving right into that, the end of the grain, basically like you're carving at the top, that sort of, you're cutting off a tree like that and you're carving into that surface. There's not a lot of the same issues that you have, the same grain carving issues that you have if you're carving along the outer edge of it, because it's just simply hard. Say, William, Mary, I find it interesting the way carvers sharpen tools. I review your YouTube where you use stone and move gouge back and forth. I had a teacher years ago who made me use all slip stones, and I still do. Oh, interesting. I do not think the stones you use were around. This is not important, just more than one way to skin a cat. Everyone's talking about, yeah, these poor cats, I'll tell you what. Petting the cat in the wrong direction. So it's interesting, actually. It would seem to me that if you're just using a slipstone, that it wouldn't be aggressive enough. It just depends, I guess, on how much metal you're having to take. So I've always found that the pressure that is used from using a stone is just going to end up removing and sharpening it a little quicker than just using a slipstone. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I mean, there have been times when I've just used a slipstone just to do the sort of final sections, final sharpening, but not for the main one. Now, there's always been around like Arkansas stones and also the antique, the Washita stones. That's another natural stone. I don't exactly know where that comes from, but that's sort of one of those typical kind of stones that you find in maybe antique stores, something like that. And but hey, whatever works. If you can get the chisel sharp, then go for it. Okay, Seika. William, 60 plus years. Okay, thanks everyone. Yeah, Taito Alba, do you carve? He's been editing a lot of videos, so it's one of those things that just probably by osmosis, if you ever put a chisel in Taito Alba's hand, it would probably just come so natural. One day we're going to have to get him in here. Maybe we should do that, have you here as a guest, an actual physical guest, and carve. What do you think? All right, Georgia. Hello. I'm so glad to find artists carving with hand tools. All I see nowadays is people using Dremels, which is okay, I guess, but nothing beats handwork. Yeah, I actually have some Dremel tools, but I don't necessarily like the dust or the noise. that's just my preference. Okay, so just thinning down that area. Okay, have some ideas, but they're a bit grand for a beginner. Well, how many years have you been editing my videos? We're going on 5 years now, so you basically have been building up all of this, all the possibilities. You just never know. Here we go. Washita stones are novaculite, like all Arkansas stones. Now that's interesting. I never ever knew that because I've always heard it. You pronouncing, is that Ouchita? I always thought it was called Washita, like a W-A, but so it's actually Washita. Interesting. I've always heard it pronounced, but I've never actually seen it spelled. But it's you see a lot of that type of stone, you know, the older stones. I don't even know if you can actually get that anymore. Like Wichita, yeah. But I do know Arkansas stones are available still. I spoke with Stephen Vatican this morning, and we had a sort of a test Skype call, and he carves these really massive whales and other fish, and he does more large sculpture pieces and uses a lot of grinders and all of that. So he is actually going to be a guest this Thursday. We're working through that and trying to figure out how all that's going to work, because I'd like to see if he could do some demonstration. But he does some amazing work. So I'm looking forward to that on Thursday. Okay, I think that's getting okay. This is actually still a little high right there. And so that the rose really is set up a little bit. Okay, CTK, yes, they're still available and many consider them to be the best of all natural stones. So where do they find them? I was never able to find any information on those. They were always the, you know, things that you can only get antique. Okay, well, you know what I think I'm gonna try to do? What are we doing for time? Oh, I'm gonna zoom in on this rose here. Should probably do the rose at the beginning of a live stream just so I don't I still want to show what the original is like. Let me just try to do a little focusing. There we go. All right. Let's just try this. Now there's going to be, so start in the center. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I need a little bit better of a surface, a little bit better of a canvas. So I'm going to smooth this out so that I can really draw on the edges of the rose. So I'm just using a flatter gouge right now. It's the number 314, just to get rid of some of those gouge marks. So that I can do a little bit more accurate drawing of that surface. Because it's very, very bumpy. All right, now, you know what? I think I'm going to re-angle this just a little bit, so you can see a little bit more straighter on. Okay, hang on a second. Let me do one other thing here. Where is that? Okay, so remember yesterday, if you're watching it yesterday, I did a close-up of that. Okay, and then I can zoom in a little bit closer to this. Yep, okay. I'm getting in the way. Bear with me, hang on, don't get dizzy while I'm doing this. Okay, this is just so we can see a little closer. All right. There you go. Okay, all that painful stuff is done. Okay, now. So what I need to do is there's going to be a little hole right there, right in the center. And then we're going to start to do from that point. I'm actually looking at this, the other one, pretty direct on. So there's going to be one of the petals there. Then there's going to be a couple other ones just as it splays around and opens up. And I'm sure in the process of doing this is going to change because that's just the nature of this type of thing. So there's another petal, and let's just say there's another one right there. Okay, so when we start dealing with the inner petals, they're actually quite small and really very close to each other. And let's just do one other one right there. Okay, so that's basically the center part of this the rose, and then it's going to start to open up. Okay, so I'm going to let's go ahead. Oops. Oh, I almost tripped over Grace. I think maybe I should probably get her out of the way here. Let me move her back because I keep stepping on poor thing. All right. Oh, I'm missing the whole conversation happening here. Yes, they're still available. All right. William, my stones are so old. They are on Social Security. There's a nice article on the Arkansas stones in Wikipedia. Okay. Well, I know Arkansas stones are still around and still available, but the Washita ones, I just don't know. I haven't hardly hear anything about that. All right. So from the center here, there's going to be a hole, sort of that, like when a rose is open. All right. You can kind of see that hole right there. And I'm just going to go ahead and define that a little bit more accurately. This is my number 7. 8 millimeter, and just a nice hollow there. And now I'm going to take my V-chisel and I'm just going to go around and outline those petals. And I think I might have to get a smaller V-chisel, but we'll see. So there's one petal, and then there's another one here. And the next one. So it's important to make sure that you really start from the center and move out. And so all I'm doing right now is just defining the edge of each of the petals. There's one right there, and then there's another one right here. And you'll probably discover that my drawing, the lines that I drew, probably aren't going to be exact where my V-chisels go. My V-chisels they kind of have a mind of their own sometimes. Okay, and then from there, another little one right there. Okay, now it's still kind of, wait a minute, hold on a second, I gotta read this. My brain is still stuck on the which way is up question. Any engineers in here? Could you take a micrometer to the rings of a long enough timber to determine the direction of the original tree grew? I need to know. Yes, I believe you're correct there. You're talking about a tree. As it gets taller, it gets thinner. Therefore, the growth rings, I would think, would get thinner as it reaches the top. That's my theory. Anybody else want to contribute? I'm going to carve a rose. Well, it does grow both ways, William, but I mean, obviously, the grain goes like that. But what we're talking about is, does it actually taper? I would think it would. I mean, trees taper when they go towards the top. So you can technically, if you actually see it coming together, then you can tell which is the top and which is the bottom. It wouldn't matter from a carving perspective. It really wouldn't make any difference at all. But it's an interesting argument. It does grow both ways, yes. Or to be simply be fewer rings near the top end of the timber than the base. There you go. I know there's some tree people out there who will be able to answer that question, because I won't. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and do each one of these petals. I'm going to take and carve this down. All right, and then take this. I think I'm going to need a more curved gouge here. Just waiting. I'm just waiting for the the comments. Say, very glad to catch the show live. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, yes, the taper of the trees is what makes the grain as nested concentric cones. There we go. I knew there was somebody out there. It's gonna. And Alexander Gorbachevsky, love flowers. Yes, this is quite detailed. How you doing, Alexander? Hope your live stream is going well. And I think yours starts at 12, right? So if you have an opportunity to go see Alexander's live stream, go over and check that out. Now I'm using the number 36 right now, and it really is one of my favorite tools of all to use. It's kind of one of those that when nothing else works, if all else fails, the number 36 will get you out of it. Let's see here. Doing wonderful. Yes, I'm at 12, mostly on YouTube. Okay. Are you defining the outside edge of the petals now? Yes, and I'm actually going to try to re-angle this, so bear with me. I'm going to try to angle it a little bit more direct. So, here. I know, that's way too high. Let's do it this way. That more direct? Well, I'll have to re-aim it. Okay, so right there, let me focus it a bit. So this is now it's Tuesday today, so I may end up just sort of extending this because I'm having way too much fun carving this rose. And so since JWT Woodworks, they don't do their live stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I like to, clear me away so that people have time to go see them. You'll have to do this on our live streams, Can't hog the hog the live stream. So since they are not going to be doing theirs at starting at 2 today, I may end up just sticking around a little bit longer. Because I'm just on a roll. Okay, so yes, I am trying to define the edges. So you see what I'm doing? This is actually the top, the detail of the edge of the petal. And then because the inside ones sort of curl inside, curl towards the center, I'm actually creating this as a curve like that, so they kind of curl in towards that hole in the center. All right, do you see what I'm doing there? Creating. Now, as they go to the outside, they switch from curling in to curving back. So, but these series of just a few of these are actually going to be a little bit more of a curl in towards the center, but I want to have that as a nice sharp corner of each of the petals. All right, so this one, Have to breathe a little bit. Okay. Defining the outside edge of the petals now. Yes, we're going on the inside, just this inside edge. Then as they come out to the outer edge, they'll be doing a little bit more of a curl. Okay. All of my in-person classes in May are canceled. What about yours? Actually, I just got final notice that all of my classes all the way through until August are canceled. There was one last class holding on that was out in Washington, Port Townsend, Washington. And I just got notice yesterday that they have canceled that. So, and that was in June, and I was kind of holding out hope for that. But no, pretty much everything all the way through. I think August is the first class, and I believe that's Mark Adams. First class from now on. So, looks like my live stream is going to be continuing on. You know, I did say as long as I'm here in my shop carving, trying to figure out what to do, I'm going to go ahead and do the live stream. So now I may end up not doing it every single day, because that can get a little much, but I've been enjoying it, so I may need a little bit of a break along the way somewhere. But no, just figuring out what to do. But yes, strange times, that's for sure. Okay, I think this is coming. Okay, so right about here, this is about the point when the petals change from curling in towards the center to starting to curl around. So if you look at the close-up shot of that, these are up until here, they're all kind of curling in and pointing towards the center. I still have, obviously, some detailing to do. But let's just see here. Let's do this, curl that around. Sometimes when you do this type of thing, you really do forget to breathe. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. This is going to... especially when you start to do these really intense details. And you only got one shot. Let me take a breather and let's see. We're still talking about the grain and the trees. Let's see. Okay, is the reference a marble carving? Yes, it is a marble carving that I'm basing this on, a beautiful Italian style marble bust. And I will, yeah, if you look back at, even on the Instagram photos, I've put quite a few reference photos of the original. So if you want to take a look at that. All right, this is a great time for a having a toothbrush and just brushing it along the little details in there kind of helps clear up any of the little fuzz. Now what's interesting is I'm actually creating a little bit more detail than the rose. If you look at the inside section of the carved one, it's a little bit more vague. Hold on a second, it's getting a little bit blurry. Let's see if I can focus a bit more. Much better. Okay, how are we doing out there? Is this carving for study or for a client? This, I actually had the marble bust that I did some repair on, and I just absolutely fell in love with the carving. So I asked my friend who I did that for, I asked her if I could borrow it for a while. So it is just for me because it was just such a beautiful example. And so it's just for me. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with it. But I don't know. Not sure yet. Okay, so all of these this gets a little tricky because there's a lot happening here. And then there's a petal that flows down there. Oh, and then there's another one right here that is overlap right there. So this is when I do a lot of mumbling to myself, so bear with me. And also it's going to be hard for me to access underneath there, so I might just do as much as I can from here. And okay. And I'm probably going to have to do that backside afterwards, maybe once they all right, now that side right there, do you see that? I was going right against the grain because I'm going uphill. You need to start at the top, go that direction and that direction. I'm actually just trying to get out of the camera way, so bear with me. And let me just look at the other side from there. That's curving around like that. I'm going to probably be making a little bit of this up as I go. Sorry, I know I'm blocking that away, but I can't really do it any other way. Okay, so I just made that cut there. And now I'm going back to that number 3, 6, and this is going to be this first petal coming in like so. But these are now going to be splaying out. So they're going to go in and then they're really going to start to do a curl there. Sorry, you guys didn't have anything else planned this afternoon, did you? I don't plan on going anywhere for a little while. I'm getting into this. Okay, that's going to be curling around there, the end of that. going to do another one right there. And then this outer one is going to have, it's going to be really a curled one. So I'm going to go a little further. So that the edge of the petal actually is right over here. So it's going to curl up aggressively and then curve back. Same thing here. And then right here, also curved. All right. Oh, you're still out there. Okay. Pardon me while I just continue on. Okay, let's see. How are we doing here? All right. So, Rachel George, she's looking great. Thank you. She's coming along. All right. I'm already a member of online school, but with another surname. In Germany, it's evening. That's the reason I seldom watch the live stream. Yes, you can watch it afterwards, though. I do try to archive these, so if you miss any, you can always watch it later. Why wouldn't you lean the bust upward to get better access? Are you keeping it down to maintain perspective? Actually, it's just the simplest to carve, to hold it right now because it's screwed into a backer board, and it's the most solid way to hold it. I will end up shifting it and being able to get a different perspective. And also, I want the camera to be able to really focus straight on. As it is, if I start turning it, I'm going to have to run all over the place trying to, you know, make sure that, that you guys can actually watch what's going on. So, you know, I have to keep that in mind also. Of just the kind of the awkwardness of not only carving it, but also trying to get out of the way. Okay, let's see here. So let's see. Yes, I have to go paint the church ceiling plain white. No, no Michelangelo stuff. Oh, come on, go. You know, like paint the Sistine Chapel. You can add your own design to it. Add your own custom decorations. Sneak it in there. Tied to elbows. Yeah, CTK wood. I'm gonna do some more research on the grain direction. I'm not sure if I can get the wood book from 50 years ago when I took the course. The rose is looking good. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. We are getting there. Just so, you guys okay to stick around? I'm just gonna keep going because, yeah, why not? Woo-oo. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that piece of wood break off? Right there. See? A little too much pressure. But you know what to do with that? You go like this. You go, I think I'm just going to make that petal a little different shape. There. And actually, that looks much better. That's what they call a redesign opportunity. I have a lot of those. And I take advantage of them. See, I probably could have gotten away without anybody seeing that, but you know what? Hey, it's a good teaching moment. Okay, now there's going to be one large petal right here, and that's going to be really curling back. And then the outer edge is going to be right there. And just to really clarify that edge, take that a little bit deeper. All right, it's going to be hard to access that because I'm going to be right in the way of the camera, so I'll just do as much as I can from here. Okay, Rob says, I've been having a lot of those chip outs in the butternut I've been carving. You know what? Sometimes the butternut, if it is actually a butternut that has come from a tree that has died, and a lot of the butternut that you get now is, so it might have a little bit of kind of a worm or fungus presence. Sometimes it can certainly do that. All right, well, I think I'm going to hold off at this point, and I'm going to step back from it. And here, let's just, I'll zoom zoom out. And yeah, I think I'm going to step back, take a breather, and finish up the rose. And so we are getting there. I mean, if you can take a look, there's I mean, it's getting there. There's obviously this side that needs to be done. I'm going to do a little bit more refining of these, letting these the points get a little sharper, so it actually looks like right here. And maybe do a little bit of a curl right there, so that it actually looks like it's curling up. And so this is the edge of the petal. So that would basically be hollowing out the back side of this to look like it's really curling back like that. So anyway, it's take a breather. So, and with that, I am going to take a breather and get some lunch because it's kind of late. And so thank you for joining me. I know it's gone past my normal hour, but yeah, I think we've got a lot of good work done, and I'm just going to back up this a little bit so we can get a little perspective of what's happening. So bear with me. Let's do this. See if I can do this without making everybody dizzy. Okay, now what's interesting is, so you look at the difference between the wood carved one and the marble one. There is actually a lot of, or actually you can't do a lot of the details as if you look at the rose, you know, there's the petals, but because of just the nature of the marble, it didn't really get into, you know, the real solid definite details of the individual petals. So you can actually do a little bit more details with the wood. Now I could have probably simplified it a little bit. You know, I tend to get carried away and want to do more. So I'm gonna continue on, and yeah, tomorrow I'll try to set up the camera so I can do this other side as it sort of tapers off that way. So anyway, it's coming. It's an interesting project in that there is, let me get rid of that. It's an interesting project in that there's a lot to this. It's not only just the sort of general shaping, making sure the neck, making sure the face works, the hair and all of that, but then there's this really detailed rose. So there's a lot of, that sort of general rounding, and then there's that really intricate details like the eyes and the mouth. So there's a lot to this, but I do feel like I'm heading in the right direction. Now, between now and tomorrow, I will probably try to get a piece of wood to glue into there. I will wait to do that. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. But we'll see. All right, so let's see. Moondog, thank you everybody, and it's good to have you, and I hope everybody's doing well out there. Rob said that's the result of choosing an advanced lesson and not being an advanced carver. Oh, you're carving the green man, aren't you? That's right. That's a challenging one, but no, the photographs I saw, they're looking good. You just keep going. And make it a self-portrait green man. Just have a mirror in front of you. All right, thank you, CTK Wood. Interesting conversation about the tree growth. You just never know where these chats will go. All right. Thank you, everybody. We will see you tomorrow, same time. Now, remember, on Thursday, I'm going to have Stephen Vatican, who is going to be carving massive whales out of logs. So really fun stuff, pretty amazing things. But he's in Charleston here, just down the road, but we're going to still connect through Skype. So, all right. Well, we will see you tomorrow, same time. Happy carving, everybody.